Good morning, New Zealand. Just made it, trying to get everything together. It is the 31st of October, which, you know what that means, 1st of November tomorrow, and I'm going to be under pressure to put up the Christmas tree. Yeah, my grown kids like the Christmas tree real early. So I'm going to have to hide that box so they can't see it. Anyway, 31st of October, and this is Daybreak, and it's a Friday. So it's a great day. Good morning. Yep, and it's a very good morning. Thank you to all the messages coming through. Who we got? We got Lynette, Nigel, Darren, Carl, Jackie, already online very early. Up and at 'em, they say. Friday morning. I've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to get straight into it. Number of stories. Firstly, this one, fireworks. The New Zealand Herald have suddenly decided that fireworks are a problem. Now, look, it's not that I disagree that fireworks, it's not really the debate about banning or not banning fireworks. Personally, I don't think we should ban them, but I understand the argument for those who want to ban them in relation to animals. My question is just, why didn't the Herald, New Zealand Herald, do this editorial, 2 weeks ago during Diwali, when for 3 nights in our area we had fireworks going off every night? And I didn't hear a single complaint from the New Zealand Herald. So for Diwali, it's okay, but when we get to Guy Fawkes, it's not. Now, why is that, do you think? And my point is just, it's the inconsistency of the approach. Either they're against fireworks and they don't like the effect it has on animals, etc., and the safety aspect, or they should just be quiet for both festivals because they're not being consistent. But then again, the media is not that consistent, and I'll show you what we think of that. There's some new results out in the Post, which is the Wellington-based newspaper. Yep, their transmission gully. If you're travelling on the transmission gully, you're going to have the same problem that we had with the new motorway that was built between Auckland and Hamilton. They built it, but it fell apart. And I read these stories. I mean, 6 kilometres they've got to dig up of transmission gully. And it's just embarrassing. It's just the quality of New Zealand workmanship. Or can you say workmanship now? Workpersonship. And it's just, yeah, it's a bad advertisement for just the ability of us to build stuff and to build infrastructure. Look, a little lesson. Obviously, over the next 12 months, we're going to get completely inundated with all these policy announcements from political parties. And I want just to remind you that you need to use a lot of discernment when you read them. I took this off the New Zealand Labour Party's Facebook website. And you'll see there that it says, and this is part of their capital gains tax announcement, in that they're going to tax capital gains, and through that, they reckon they're going to ring fence it, which I never believe governments when they say they're going to ring fence stuff. It just goes into a slush fund and they put it into whatever the policy is of the day. But anyway, they say they're going to ring fence it and they're going to give everybody, including rich people, free doctor's visits, but three per year. Now that's fine. Some of you may go to the doctor once or twice a year, maybe not even once a year. But some people have to go on a regular basis, right? This announcement, this advertisement says, Labour policy, free doctor visits. Read between the lines. It's not free doctor visits, it's 3 visits. Just 3 per year. And it's that kind of misleading advertising. I mean, I should send this to the Advertising Standards Authority, shouldn't I? Because actually it's misleading, deliberately so. And so it's just my encouragement, read between the lines. Of course, the other thing about the capital gains tax, whether you agree with the capital gains tax or not, is that for them to get up to the point where they can afford these 3 free visits to the doctor, it's going to take a couple of years to do that. And people actually need to sell properties and make capital gains in the first place to provide that tax income. So there's a whole lot of red herrings in that one. So we'll keep an eye on that. Now, if you weren't convinced that the media are obsessed with liberalising drug laws, I just want to give you a quick expose of exactly how they do it. The media love their drugs and they support groups who are promoting liberal drug laws, and they support political parties who do that. And we saw that. So this week we saw a report from the Helen Clark Foundation, a charitable trust, which is lobbying, political lobbying. Yeah, you thought you would get deregistered for doing that, like Family First. No, it's the Helen Clark Foundation. They're a left-wing group, like the Drug Foundation. So they put out a report, and the media jump online and say, look, the report says that politicians can liberalise the drug laws without political blowback. So in other words, here's some political advice for political parties, compliments of the New Zealand Herald. The Post gets on as well and says, there's public favour for liberalising the drug laws. The problem is that when you actually read the report, it actually shows that the majority of people still want law enforcement and prevention. Don't do drugs. In fact, the treatment is still at around 24%, which it currently is now, and only 16% are into this woolly harm reduction. The Drug Foundation, here's how to use drugs safely. There is no such thing as a safe drug. So that's the Helen Clark Foundation. But a week before, it was the Drug Foundation who put up this report. And, it's the drug laws are a colossal failure. Stuff gets involved, and then Radio New Zealand gets involved. Apparently, if we make liberal drug laws, it'll combat rising addiction. Yeah, there's some logic for you. And then on the back of this, so you've got the Druggy Foundation, and you've got Helen Clark Foundation, all pushing liberal drug laws. And then, lo and behold, along comes the Green Party and says, and with the aid of the media advertising it, we want public feedback. So the media are doing some free advertising. I'd love to get some free advertising from the media. Just doesn't seem to be offered. But anyway, the Green Party wants public feedback on liberalising cannabis laws. We put out a statement saying that they're relitigating a losing argument from 2020 because they lost the referendum on cannabis legalisation. And interestingly, I haven't had a single call from the media. No, they won't come to our side to hear our side of the argument. And I'll come back to that exact point shortly. Right. Another commentary in the New Zealand Herald this morning, Matthew Hooton, who was part of the failed coup in National when Todd Muller became the leader for a very short period of time. So I always take what Matthew Hooton says very lightly because it was a period of time in the National Party that brought it to its knees and basically gave us Jacinda Ardern for another 3 years in 2020 because the National Party was so weak at that time because of all the leadership coups. But anyway, Matthew Hooton says Te Pati Maori imploding is going to help Labour, and it's good news for Chris Hipkins. There's two reasons that I think Matthew Hooton's wrong. The first is that Chris Hipkins is going to need Te Pati Maori to form a coalition government, according to all the polling. He's going to need the Greens as well. That's a three-headed monster that should scare everybody. But the second thing is I looked at the political polling, just the averages over the last, this year, and I noticed that if you look at Te Pati Maori down the bottom there, actually, despite all the shenanigans going on, all the implosions, all the stunts that they've been doing and getting in trouble and disciplined in Parliament, their vote has been holding. And of course, they had that massive win in Tamaki Makaurau's seat just recently. So we got this new MP, Irene Kaipara, who can't adhere to time restraints in Parliament and ends up doing the haka with the crowd as well. So, yeah, I think Matthew Hooton is wrong on that one. We'll find out in 12 months. The Broadcasting Standards Authority have put out a report talking about trust in media. This is the Broadcasting Standards Authority, which wants to try and regulate everything on the media, including podcasts and including Daybreak. That'll be fun. That'll be fun getting all the complaints from the woke left. But the factors that affect people's trust, I mean, the BSA is telling us nothing we know. Interesting, they say, we'll only trust media if the reporting is supported by credible cited evidence. Well, that'll be a first. Neutral, unbiased, factual reporting. Individual stories reported in a balanced manner, showing all perspectives. That'll be a new thing. Over time, issues are reported in a balanced manner, showing all perspectives. Above that, the difference between opinion pieces and news is made clear. The problem is that most media stories these days tend to be the opinion of the journalist. They put so much of their own opinion into it by their choice of words, etc. There are a few other factors. But the thing in the BSA report that I think that the media should be really worried about is this chart. And it shows where people are getting their news from. And you'll see there that news websites is only around the 50 to 60 mark, very low for that young age group, that top left corner, 53%, 18 to 24-year-olds. Look where 18 to 24-year-olds are getting their news. They're getting it from social media. They're watching Daybreak. 83%, slightly less on 25 to 34-year-olds. Excuse me. And television, very low for the younger. You'll see that the only people that are holding the 6 p.m. news together is 65 plus. Out the right there, I've circled it, 83%. And so the 6 p.m. news, they should be worried because they have an aging audience that will eventually die. And they're not grabbing it. I mean, look at that figure for television, 25 to 34. Just a third of the 25 to 34 are getting their news source from the television. So, yeah, that should actually really worry the media. Right, this story, I saw this one. Online hate and gendered abuse, the high cost of leadership for young women. This is Stuff yelling this out. Now, well, let me just read the story because there was a couple of red flags as soon as I saw this. It says, when an email landed in Aria Lal's inbox one Saturday evening. Now, there's the first red flag, the surname, Lal. Chanel Lal, anybody? So when an email landed in Aria Lal, maybe no relation, I don't know. One Saturday evening in September, they assumed it was work. And yeah, it just arrived in Aria's inbox. So just one person, but Stuff says they assumed it was work. Immediately, you know where this is going, right? And look, if she's receiving objectionable, threatening emails, she should immediately take those to the police, as we all should and would. But Stuff immediately use this as gendered attack on people. Lowell says she wants the same, well, they want the same for others. No, she wants the same for others, including those with barriers to education, Maori and Pacifica peoples, women, people of colour, LGBTQIA+, and disabled students. So lots of intersectionality and critical theory there. But then the story then goes into the fact a rising tide of abuse and talks about Jacinda Ardern abuse, and then talks about a school strike for climate spokesperson, apparently. The interesting thing about this is that this is the same Stuff newspaper that was defending Benjamin Doyle, the Green MP, who's a dude who apparently was getting the abuse. So it's not just gendered. And the other thing is that this is the same outlet, Stuff, where Andrea Vance, their senior writer, was calling female MPs the C word. So Stuff, keep your moral hysterics to yourself. You have no credibility on this particular issue. We're all against abuse. We're all against threatening emails, and the police should be dealing with it. But don't come with your moral high ground about the high cost of leadership for women when you yourself are contributing to it by calling female MPs the C word. So, yeah, buzz off. Right. Interesting. Social media ban. Got that off my system. Social media ban. We're on a roll on a Friday morning, aren't we? I might need a... Here we are. Here's my Daybreak cup. Actually, I think I've got some of these in the office if you want to buy them. They're only $5,000 each. Anyway, but it's treated as a donation, but you don't get the donation rebate. Sorry about that. Interestingly, the social media ban in Australia is about to come into effect. Now, the interesting thing to note, as I keep saying on this debate, the concern is that the government gets involved, they do age verification, you get digital IDs, and it intervenes on all of our privacy. It's big government watching over us, big brother, and people don't want that. But at the same time, there's huge concern about the impacts of social media and the way social media companies are targeting our young people and addicting them, targeting them with algorithms, pushing content into them that we really don't want kids to see. Suicide ideation, anorexia nervosa type, body image type stuff, cyberbullying, pornography, sexually explicit material, all that type of stuff, violence. And look, we want to protect our kids, so we want to find a solution, but we don't want Big Brother government involved in it. Now, the interesting thing, my argument has always been, and I think I'm right on this, my argument has been that it's the big tech, it's the social media giants who are making trillions of dollars, according to the news last night, trillions of dollars, who should be held accountable and liable for protecting our kids from this objectionable material. So we don't need to take them off social media. We need to protect them from the content that is not suitable for them. And we can do this because Meta and TikTok know exactly who the accounts are owned by and the age of they've admitted that. You've even got a company called Character AI that is planning to ban teens from talking to its AI chatbots because they don't want teens talking to AI chatbots, not real people. So these big tech know how to protect our kids and which accounts belong to young people. And so once again, let's put the onus back on big tech. I think we can get to a solution on that one. We don't need the government to be involved in that. All right, word of the week. Word of the week is fartlek. Have you heard that word before? Fartlek. Apparently, it's to do with PE at school and training, physical education, athletics. Even the left-wing Washington Post says that if you want to live longer, try fartleks. Now, the reason I say this, and I looked up the definition. It's a Swedish name, sorry, the dog's got to go to the toilet. Go on. There we are. There we go. Okay. She'll be back. Oh no, she's gone for a bark. I just shut the door. Okay, fartlek. It's a Swedish name, and fartlek is actually a continuous run in which periods of faster running are interspersed with periods of easy or moderate paced running, rather than stopping and resting. In other words, you run fast, then you run slow, then you run fast, then you run slow. Now, so that's fartlek. Now, when the new education curriculum was released this week by Minister of Education Erica Stanford, there was howls and cries from some academics and teachers, teacher unions. And this one in particular really made me laugh because they found an academic who's into PE and who's very upset that fartleks is going to be taught to students and also how to pass the baton in relay runs. Apparently, it's archaic and completely unreasonable. Have a watch.
Year 8 students would have strict learning guidelines around athletics,
which requires fartlek training and baton exchange in relay. Now, this is archaic. We haven't taught explicitly around athletics for years. I'm not saying athletics is a bad context, but I have an 11-year-old son, and trying to get my 11-year-old son to understand fartlek training is just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Yep, so these are the academics who are writing the PE curriculum, upset with Erica Stanford because they have to teach fartleks, how to run fast and then slow and then fast rather than stopping. Wow, our education system is going really well, isn't it? Interestingly, Dee Dee says running is archaic. Yeah, actually, I agree with that. You know, the ultimate oxymoron in my view is fun run. There is no such thing as a fun run. Okay, I just want to get that out there. Anyway, the health and physical education, which is the RSE, the relationship sexuality education, we've done an analysis of it. We've given it a B+ because there is some big wins there. There is a removal of a lot of the gender and sexuality ideology. There is a delay in some of the more extreme stuff being introduced. There are still some concerns, still some room for improvement. There's an acknowledgement that parents should be involved in the process. So we gave it a B+, and you can see our analysis on our website. So go to familyfirst.nz. Right, what's my time? I'm just about out of time. Look, I do just want to comment on this case that I saw in Stuff. And there's this video clip where it shows a principal at a high school, and he sees a group of kids who aren't supposed to be there. They're supposed to be at another place. You can see there, he goes up to the group, tells them they need to move on. Some of them do. But according to reports, some of them give him lip. And you'll see there, he just grabbed the backpack. He grabbed the strap of the backpack and basically wants to talk to this kid, talks to the kid while holding the back strap, finish the talk, okay, and then it's off again. Now, what's happened is that the Board of Trustees dealt with the complaint. They said nothing to see here, but it's gone to the Teachers Council. And so it's in the media. And I'm not going to give you the name of the school or the principal's name, because I think that's actually just exacerbating the problem. But the problem I have, let me just read what it does say. It says the Teaching Council takes a dim view of incidents involving physicality against students. And of course, they remind us of their the stuff reported on a case of Mount Maunganui relief teacher who was found guilty of serious misconduct because he pulled out a student's earphone. The student was listening to music in class, and so the relief teacher pulled it out, and apparently it broke in the process. Well, the problem is not that it broke in the process. The problem is that the kid wasn't listening to what was going on in class. Anyway, the parent, and so that relief teacher is relief teaching no more. And my argument is this is why we're losing good teachers, because we've lost common sense. And for a principal to be up before the Teaching Council for what you just saw on that video, as Foo Dogs Trucking has just texted me, thank you again, Sue Bradford. But anyway, the father of the boy that was, physically assaulted, apparently not, the father of the boy said the family was unhappy with the outcome of the complaint to the school board, but took it no further as it would have involved a lengthy process with the Ministry of Education. The son has finished school anyway, but the father said the video showed that the principal reached out and pulled his son, causing him to take a step backward. No. And apparently it was never appropriate. But then the father admits in the story his son had ADHD, wasn't the perfect boy, but that did not make it acceptable. And he even admitted that his son had chucked up a hang loose sign and said, "Yeah," at the principal. So had been disrespectful and thrown up a hang loose sign. There it is. That's a Hawaiian hang loose sign. So what you've got, yeah. I mean, I just think, is this the reason why we're struggling to get really good education and good teachers? The fact is that if you physically touch a student these days in school, we figured out that there's 3 to 4 forms that you have to fill in to explain why you did it and all that type of stuff. We've completely lost the common sense, and we're paying the cost for that. Right. Look, we are out of time. There was a few other stories. I will come back to them on Monday. I was just going to give you the word of the year. This is the word of the year, 6-7. The problem is that nobody can actually define what the word of the year means. It's a trendy term, 6-7, which Gen Alpha, which is the youngest generation, use. But dictionary.com has crowned it the word of the year. So maybe today you can ask somebody, what does 6-7 mean? And use of the word went viral in schools and on social media this year. It can be taken to mean a variety of things, with context, tone, and absurdity all playing a role in determining its definition in the moment. Okay. The other words that were up for word of the year were broligarchy, and Gen Z stare, a Gen Z stare. This is a boomer stare, okay? Well, it's gone bonkers. Anyway, 6-7 is the word of the year. Did I tell you this? More than 650,000 views of Kiwi detransition. Is this and Zara? Great news. Meanwhile, One News, they were promoting puberty blockers with their pin-up. Yeah. So he is the pin-up for puberty blockers. Okay, that's going to go well. The other thing is McBlog did a interview with the lawyers who were in the Supreme Court on the conversion therapy law in the United States. They're challenging it and saying that it takes away freedom of choice of people who want to be counselled against unwanted sexuality issues and gender issue confusion. And it also criminalises counsellors and parents and pastors. And it's being challenged in the Supreme Court, and they think that possibly that law is going to be overturned. Of course, New Zealand has got it in a fit of madness from our dumb politicians because they were woke and wanted to push kids towards LGBT, but if you draw kids away from LGBT, you're committing a crime and could be in prison for up to 5 years. That's what the law says. Anyway, that's some of the bonkers decisions coming out of our parliament. Anyway, you can tell I'm slowly losing it, so we need to head into the weekend and have a break. So it is Friday. Hope you have a great weekend. And Monday night is our 100th episode of Straight Talk. So we're actually getting on every present and past panelist at some stage to give a bit of a soapbox to social conservatives on Monday nights. That's going to be fun from 8 o'clock. So that's Straight Talk on Monday. Anyway, Friday, great day. Have a great weekend, and we will see you back here Monday morning.